There's a technique called reverse engineering, in which you start with a finished item and work backwards, deconstructing it to find out how it works or how it was put together. All sorts of machines, components, architecture, computer software, and physical objects are taken apart and analyzed bit by bit to find out how they were put together in the first place, or to find out how they work, and sometimes to replicate the original. It is a scientific and painstaking process that leads to understanding and advances knowledge. There's a type of thinking that dog advocates and apologists use, in which they work backwards from a starting point. The type of thinking I'm referring to is what I have often called the reverse scientific method. With scientific thinking, we observe evidence first, then we produce a theory based on that evidence. The theory developed from observations remains open to testing and revision if new evidence emerges. In the reverse scientific method, beloved of dog extremists, they start with the theory and then seek supporting evidence. If the evidence contradicts the theory, then that evidence is either rejected or explained away as faulty or irrelevant. The difference between reverse engineering and what dog extremists do is that the reverse engineer starts with something that is based on scientific principles. The knowledge of the product they examine is based on scientific principles and testable knowledge. The knowledge that dog extremists start with is based on faith, opinion, and wishful thinking. No amount of evidence is going to alter or shift it. In my video, Dog is God, I spoke about the use of factoids. The term was coined in 1973 by American writer Norman Mailer to mean a piece of information that becomes accepted as fact, even though it is not actually true, or an invented fact believed to be true because it appears in print. More recently, the meaning of factoid has been expanded to include fun facts or trivia. I will stick with the original meaning of factoid to mean false information accepted as true because it has been repeated so often. I will use the term reverse Imagineering to describe the process that dog extremists employ. They start with something that they believe is true, but which has no evidence to support it, because they have invented or imagined the factoid. There are so many of them that I do not have the time to go through them all, but I will demonstrate the principles employed. Recently, someone questioned how I can criticize such a gentle creature as a dog, so I'll make that my starting point. There is no scientifically testable evidence that dogs as a species are noted for being gentle. There is much testable evidence to contradict it in the form of records of attacks on potential prey animals, including humans. Being gentle would be a very poor survival strategy for a predatory carnivore and scavenger such as a dog. Dog extremists have invented or imagined the concept of gentleness as a core characteristic of the species. Their starting point is a falsehood, but they need to support that falsehood and defend it. This is where reverse Imagineering comes in. The idea that dogs are gentle and loving is invented out of thin air and is endlessly repeated until it becomes accepted as true. Reverse Imagineering invents the evidence. If you don't believe that dogs are gentle and loving, then there are countless photos of dogs wearing pastel-colored tutus, floral crowns, and Halloween costumes to prove otherwise. Carefully posed photos of tiny babies sleeping beside or on top of a powerful dog provide further evidence of gentleness. I use the term dog extremists to describe the thinking of a particular segment of dog owners. Many dog owners know that dogs are not gentle. Many think that dogs can be trained to be gentle, and many believe that there is a graduation of gentleness levels in between breeds of dog. I have to be careful not to characterize all dog owners as being equal or having the characteristics of the type of people who come onto this channel to spread abuse, false information, and ad hominem attacks. Some dog owners are more rooted in reality than others. While many dog owners are more rooted in reality and realize that dogs are potentially dangerous and not gentle, the fact is that they still own dogs. They know that dogs are not gentle, and yet they expect us to accept the risks that dogs present to our safety and the safety of our children. They know that dogs are not gentle, but they do not campaign for restrictions on dog ownership, mandatory training for potential dog owners, or reductions in dog numbers. If they believe that dogs have to be trained to control their natural behaviors, they must know that most dog owners are not going to put in the hours or the effort to train their dogs. Large dog organizations know that dogs are not gentle, but they tend to campaign for unrestricted dog ownership, relaxation of breed-specific legislation, and they are against euthanizing dogs that have killed humans. They are putting the rest of us at risk, just as surely as the extremists who portray pit bulls as smiling, gentle giants. It is worth highlighting the fact that not all dog owners are the same. If I discuss nothing but the extreme end of the spectrum, a lot of dog owners can take comfort in the fact that what I am discussing is nothing to do with them. They can hide behind the smokescreen of the responsible dog owner mythology. There's nothing responsible about bringing unpredictable, predatory animals into human society and defending the proliferation of that animal among us. Extremists hide behind responsible dog owners, a group of people that they have invented to suit their own purposes. When dogs kill people or dog owners act entitled, there is often a call to police to control dogs. Dog extremists argue against bans and legislation by arguing that the majority of responsible dog owners shouldn't suffer because of the actions of a tiny minority. Non-extremists defend dogs by claiming that aggressive dog behavior and rule-breaking owners are nothing to do with them. All dog owners like to play the victim card and claim that they are being unfairly discriminated against or picked on. They are neither victims nor being discriminated against. They are all part of the same problem. See my video, Responsible Dog Owners Do Not Exist, for an in-depth discussion on the subject. So what do you do if you start with a false conclusion that has no evidence to support it? The answer is that you run into debt, which stands for deny, explain, blame, and threaten. If you believe that dogs are gentle, not only is your starting point false, it is also so vague as to be almost meaningless. All of the common dog slogans are vague and difficult to define. Man's best friend. There is no such thing as a bad dog. Dogs are loyal. My dog loves me unconditionally. Pit bulls are nanny dogs, are all examples of slogans that are never defined and have no terms attached to them. So they are deliberately opaque and difficult to prove or disprove. How would you gather evidence to prove that a dog is man's best friend? Dogs are gentle is a slogan that falls into this pattern. The behavior of dogs should never be described as gentle because it is patently false. People choose to believe it, and they have to defend their belief system. The first element of debt is deny. If they can, they will. They deny that events took place. They deny official statistics. Dogsbite.org is attacked for producing false statistics, as is the CDC and other official organizations. When deny has run its course, then they move to explain. Sometimes the explanation for non-gentle behavior is to reinterpret it. An aggressive dog is playing, being friendly, or saying hello. An attack on another dog is rough play that got out of hand. The dog didn't attack the baby or the old woman. It was only trying to help the human and accidentally mouthed, gummed, or nipped the human in its clumsy enthusiasm to help. Gentle dogs never bite. They mouth, gum, or nip. The dog thought that its mum was being attacked and ran in to protect her. If dogs are gentle by their nature, then circumstances must have forced them to act against their nature. The dog was frightened or startled or was wakened out of a deep sleep, and the excuses go on and on and on. The third tactic is blame. I have spoken about this in a number of my videos, so I will keep it brief. See the blame game, it doesn't matter how you raise them, and humans kill more humans than dogs do, as examples of how the blame game operates. Victim blaming is a favorite port of call. Stories of children deserving disfigurement and worse because they pulled a dog's ear or stood on its tail abound. One of the most despicable blame game stories is the 2019 dog attack on a 4-year-old child in Layton, Ohio. The child lost his hand, and dog worshippers blamed the child, claiming that he antagonized the dog by creating a sock puppet and confusing the dog into accidentally biting his hand off. If they cannot blame a victim, they will invent a fake backstory or history to blame an imaginary previous owner. You will all be familiar with the idea that an aggressive dog must have been abused or maltreated in some way by an unknown, unspecified, and unidentified previous owner. No proof is ever offered for any of this, but if dogs are, by their nature, gentle, then it must be true. This blame game is allied to the process of DARVO that I have referred to in previous videos. DARVO stands for Deny, Attack, Reverse Victim and Offender. See my video on Cynophobia for more on DARVO. The fourth and final element of debt is T for threaten. I started this video by referring to a comment from someone who claimed that I was crazy because I criticized gentle creatures. I took that to be a mild threat, but I also receive more overt threats. See my videos, A Dog Worshipper Wants to Kill Me and My Son, and The Smear Campaign Against Me and What You Should Know. I have seen threats on other sites from pit bull owners expressing the sentiment that pit bulls are loving, gentle creatures, and if you don't agree with me, I hope a pit bull comes to your house and kills your children. This is how crazy it can get. I have limited this discussion to looking at the starting belief that dogs are gentle, but the debt approach is applied to all of the falsehoods that dog extremists adhere to. I look forward to a future that is both debt-free and pet-free.